Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my LinkedIn message or if you responded, but there's a shorter version if we need it to be short, or I could go longer. Do you have a? Is there a need
Oh no,
either way?
you're good. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Cool.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second VR Creator Club. We actually have a speaker today. It was Claire. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the Game Jam submissions, the Virtual Odyssey Festival, which is something that I'm working on. Then Claire Weingarten will be speaking. We will be doing a little bit of discussion after that, and then that'll be about it. Um, so if Justin wants to come up here, we the game jam just concluded. Let me. You can actually look down here if you. Why can't I click on you? Um, and now everyone can hear you.
Sweet. Yeah, our game jam wrapped up last week, and we have 9 submissions there. And so this week we're currently doing the rating, and it's open to everybody. So if you want to play some cool free games, the theme was lasting. So this was a week-long game jam. The theme was lasting. So if you want to play some free game jam games, you can actually click on the link over there on the side. There is a link that will take you to the page, and you can add them to your favorite list or whatever and play them later. But yeah, we're looking for more people to rate so that we can have a good little competition going. And yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Yeah, game jams are always great. Just to jump in. So, do you know when the next one? Do you have a planned next one?
Yeah, so we're doing a every other month kind of schedule. So I'll announce the next one at the end of the rating period for this one, which ends on next Monday, I believe. And so the next one is going to be in September, and it's going to be a more chill game jam. So this one was a week long and a little more competitive. The next one in September is going to be a little more chill. You can continue a project you've been working on. You can, participate like it's a real game jam, but it'll be about a month long for like the whole length of September. And yeah, that one's more of a motivation kind of jam to get you going, get you back on track.
Nice. So kind of like co-working. Cool. Thank you very much. Um, the next thing is that I've been working on a project called the Virtual Odyssey Festival, which is part of um, my master's program, where I'm working on a immersive way of interacting with purchasing video games, including 360. The next
Uh,
thing is screenshots, scatter terrain, and music, as well as being able to buy the game in the program. Um, so I'm actually looking for some developers currently. Uh, I'm working with Flutter, who's in the crowd today, which is awesome. So she's been helping me pioneer this process. So I plan on hosting this from August 31st to September 8th here on Banter. So if anyone wants to go check out the demo of it, don't go now, but on the left-hand side or on your right-hand side, there is a portal there you can go and look at the demo and kind of check out what the vibe's going to be. Don't go there yet. I see you. You get back here. Um, and anyone who would like to anyone if anyone has a game they want to put in there, if anyone knows anyone who has games that they would like to put in there, we're going to be looking for some things like if you have a side quest store, game banner, looking for 4360 screenshots, some music, and like a scene or some scatter terrain. But you do one caveat is that it is experimental, and I'm not guaranteeing anything. We're still working on it. So it's a process, and we're not fully there yet. So a little bit of patience. Um, and yeah, that's all for that. Oh no. And now for our speaker, we have uh, Claire Weingarten, who owns her own businesses, and we have been going to the Immersive Media Communications Master Degree program together. So, uh, everyone, put your digital hands together and make some noise for Claire.
Woo! Yay! Clap,
Yay!
clap, clap.
All right, thank you, Matt. Can you make them full screen or? All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for coming this afternoon, allowing me to speak to the Creators Club. I'm really excited to be here. As Matt mentioned, we're in the Immersive Media Communication program together through the University of Oregon. There are 12 of us. It's super fun. I'm sure he's can tell you about it if you're interested. So I'm just going to introduce myself super briefly. I have some links in here, which I'm sure won't work. So I'm going to post the presentation on like LinkedIn or something afterwards. So if you want to come see it and scan some of the links, please help yourself. There's some cool videos and stuff. So I'm Claire. I'm the founder of Living Machines Media. It's a business I have consulting, working with XR creators and startups and other folks. I'm also doing US business development
There we go.
for an immersive creative studio based in Prague. And that's my friend Camden. I love dogs. So my background is in film and TV, producing some documentaries, but also doing the business side of things, marketing, communications, partnerships. And that's kind of what I'm doing now, consulting, working with XR creators and XR businesses, helping them with all the business stuff that creators really don't want to do. Anyway, these are two of the films that I produced. If you want to go back and look at them, you can click on the links. I'm also really into the ethical XR and humane technology movement. These are two, oh yeah, those are the films. I moved on to the next slide, but yeah, you can see on LinkedIn, you can click the links if you want to learn more about the films. Yep, these are two like ethical and humane technology organizations I'm a part of. I co-host our New York City XR Guild meetups. So if you happen to be based in New York, you should definitely check us out. We'd love to have you. We're at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. For All Tech is Human, it's a more general responsible technology community, and I'm trying to really introduce XR to that community. They have 42,000 members, but they really, don't think enough about XR. So I'm writing a series of articles right now, just trying to put it on their radar, so they're aware of some of the externalities going on in that space as it becomes more mainstream. And I'm going to be talking today about virtual production, and that is using immersive technology to create movies, including CGI and VFX. And the reason I'm talking about it today is it's super relevant to the XR community because of all the technology that it goes into making the films. It's really a radical new way of filmmaking. And I have listed here just some of the tech that goes into it. I'm going to be just doing a slide on each thing, talking real briefly. And I am 1,000% positive that most, if not all of you, know more than I do about game engines and building assets. So I'm just going to skip over that basically. But this presentation was originally given for VR Meetup in New York for folks who aren't as familiar with this kind of immersive technology. So here are just a few examples of films used using extensively a lot of XR that people are familiar with. Mandalorian, the TV show. Can you skip ahead, Matt? Sorry, I realize I haven't been telling you to skip.
It's okay. Yeah, go ahead. Is
Oh
this the
yeah,
right
I'm
one?
super sorry about that. Yeah, so this was what I last sort of talked about, the different immersive technologies, XR building elements that go into virtual production. So yep, I'll just be skimming this list pretty quickly. Okay, next slide. Awesome. So, Sorry, Matt. Last slide. I've got the deck up on my computer, so I'm moving through it differently. Um, cool.
Sorry,
Okay,
working
so
on it.
Mandalorian. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able to share myself. Um, it's the one that has yes, perfect. All right, so Mandalorian from 2019 was really the first really mainstream piece of media that extensively relied on uh, virtual production techniques. Lion King was really big. I have a link here that I would super duper encourage you to go look at when I post the presentation, and I can give it to Matt to share if people are interested. But that's like a 20-minute film about how the Lion King was created. And I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but like, the whole film was basically created. I mean, it was created on Unreal, but then pre-visualization visualized in, Unreal using VR, really designing the whole film. Avatar, the newest one, House of the Dragons. I'm going to show a 3-minute video at the end that just really super gets behind the scenes of virtual production in House of the Dragons. So all the stuff I'm talking about in the presentation will be referenced in that video. All right, and this is just if you can skip ahead, please, Matt. I'm going to show a video that's about 90 seconds, and it is going to demonstrate sort of how a virtual production works side by side with what's going on in the camera and what audiences are viewing. So, Matt, do you mind skipping ahead? Oh,
I
actually,
have it
we're
over
going to
here.
play the video. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
right over here on the right.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's 90 seconds. It starts off a tiny bit slowly. All right, good. You're already in it. Do you have sound? I guess it's okay without sound. But...
If someone can't hear it, there's a volume on the bottom right.
So basically, this is how they do a ton of stunts in movies now, and it's just pretty amazing when you see side by side how they're being made. All right, awesome. I figured that would give a good taste of the different technology being used. Let me see, Matt. Can you skip ahead? And I'd also really like to make sure everyone heard the audio because the House of the Dragons clip I'm going to play at the end, the audio is like crucial. So can you raise your hand if you had any audio problems? I just want to make sure all was good. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, can you skip to the next slide, please? Okay, great. So just early days, the first, special effects and, really cool kind of on-set content that was being made in the film industry was using rear projection. It got really big in the 1930s. You can sort of see here, super behind the scenes than what viewers were seeing when they went to the movies. This is from Alfred Hitchcock, North by Northwest. And you've probably seen this, I'm sure, at some point because, they still use it. And especially, 50s, 60s, if you watch an old film and they're driving a car, it was like 100% shot this way. Okay, can you advance, please? Cool. So then we all know about green screens, which really came into prominence in the 80s, 90s, and are still being used a great deal. And now often they're blue screens just because the contrast is better with people's skin. You can see on the left, that's a scene from Game of Thrones. And you can see the wall, and then you can see kind of what the actors were experiencing. And I'll get into it a little bit more in the next slide, but I'll just say, actors acting in that kind of environment, like if you're doing it against a green screen, you are, you don't get a lot of emotion, you don't get a lot of effect, you're kind of acting against nothing. Also, when the CGI is put in post production, there are a lot of issues with lighting, and it's really challenging to get shadows correct in this instance. So green screen is sort of where we were. There's still a lot of work done with green screens. Can you flip to the next slide? Great. So now a lot of people are using virtual film production instead, and it has a ton of benefits, in terms of compressing time, etc. I'll get into that a little bit more later. But one of the coolest things is their light emitting using LED screens. So the actors can not only see exactly the environment that they're in, so if there's going to be a dragon CGI'd in, they can look right at the dragon. And because all those panels emit light, all the shadows are going to be correct on the actors. So they don't need to worry about lighting. Like, they're literally getting light projected on them. All right, will you skip ahead? Great. So this is something everyone of you I know knows a ton more than I know. But basically, I wanted to have an excuse to put up some assets that I spent about 8 weeks building, which is that dumpster on the right. I put my heart and soul into that and have a lot of respect and so much appreciation for everyone out there who does this stuff. So obviously, this is where a lot of the assets that are injected into, CGI virtual production films, if they're made from scratch, that's how they're made. Of course, they can also be bought in the marketplace and created in many other ways. Can you skip ahead? All right, next is photogrammetry, which is, one big way that, especially sets and scenes are constructed using photos, tons and tons of photos, analyzing and triangulating the image data to recreate the surfaces. So I think Matt might have taken a class in that. I'm not sure how many of you guys work with it, but it seems super cool. Can you skip ahead? So LiDAR using now measuring more the distance and spatial relationships, often using drones to create really detailed 3D maps. And I think I'm pretty sure in the House of the Dragon video, they get really deep into this because they're scanning a forest and it's just mind blowing. Anyway, that's how, a good, very expensive, but very detailed way to create model environments and objects. Can you skip ahead, please? All right. Now, I do not know a ton about the new kind of AI infused tools being used in the space. And that's kind of next on my agenda to really research these. But one example being NERFs to create 3D models from 2D images, which will now take, my 1,000 hours I spent in Maya, it'll take 30 seconds to build something like that. But there's a ton of really interesting AI technology being used right now in production. And, it's still early days, but obviously as it gets better and better, it's really going to democratize the filmmaking process. And like the virtual sets, for example, that I showed you earlier, they have much smaller scale versions of that. So even if you're on a budget, you're not quite going to get the House of the Dragon, but you can get really amazing effects. All right, next slide, please. I'm just not even going to talk about game engines, but Unreal is used commonly in film because of the quality. It's so beautiful. Also, of course, could be Unity. Skip ahead, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So volumetric capture, people are probably pretty familiar with using tons of cameras to take 360-degree scans of folks, used in films for digital twins, which I'm going to jump to in a minute. But here's just a nifty ball cap scan I had of myself. Okay, next slide, please. So this is, kind of slightly out of date, but, has just evolved a lot since. But motion capture, used in order to capture actors' movements. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. Kind of old school, which you see on the bottom left, is a guy with basically ping pong balls on his body being mapped by cameras around a room to really get his movements and capture them. I actually was hanging out 2 days ago with a guy who does mocap. It's like, it was epic. He had like the flashiest, fanciest suit you could possibly have. And he also had just an iPhone he was using to on his face, the same way you see the Avatar actors having those cameras on their faces. And you can do a much scaled down version of this at a much more affordable cost, but it's amazing. He actually has a motion capture kind of 3D VTuber with a pretty big following. He produces a lot of game shows and actually does some commercial work. He might be a super cool person to come and talk to you guys. But yeah, really amazing stuff being done with motion capture and, all of this technology, everything I've mentioned so far, like really, exponentially being improved every year. Okay, next slide, please. So here are the digital twins I mentioned, and those are using basically, all the three-dimensional object and human building technology we've discussed, plus a lot of AI machine learning is being brought in to smooth out like all those lines. And so digital twins can be used as stand-ins as directors and cinematographers are pre-vising scenes. So if you're shooting Star Wars and you need Princess Leia, that's a whole different story, but you're not going to have the actress, you're not going to have Carrie Fisher in your Unreal kind of game engine while you do hours and hours and hours of pre-visualization and creating your shots. But so they work as stand-ins, they work for de-aging. You can see here with Brad Pitt. But a really cool thing is they also use them for stunt doubles. And then a really cool use is creating entirely virtual characters, which Princess Leia was added into the most recent Star Wars, despite the fact that Carrie Fisher is dead. But getting a body double and then using some of this other technology, she was able to reprise her character. Okay, next scene, please. Okay, pre-visualization, kind of where the magic happens, and I guess, calling back to the game engines. This is a scene from The Lion King, and if you're able to go back and, scan that URL and go to YouTube, you'll see it in the video. So much of the film was just designed in VR, and actually they didn't do much or anything really with LED screens, but they did everything in Unreal Engine. So this is the director. It was super groundbreaking. And the cinematographers, in VR as the cameras reorienting shots, kind of emulating shots that would have been taken by a drone, able to do it all just within Unreal Engine using the, characters that they've designed there. All right, next slide, please. This is just a little deeper into LED screens. As I mentioned, they're light emitting, so the shadows are going to be correct, and they're also, enable sight lines to be correct. They really help actors a lot. You can see even the stage there is LED, so, and the sky, and oftentimes they're much, much bigger. So if you watch the Game of Thrones, or when we watch it, sorry, not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, it is like a 360-degree domed LED world. It's amazing. Much better for the actors, much better for the lighting and quality. And AI can come in here also and really smooth a lot of things out. But I was also going to say there are a lot of advantages to virtual production, and I can kind of mention those here. because they also, and previs, but also real-time rendering contribute a lot to them, which is allowing shots to be just changed so quickly, scenes to be changed quickly, shoot on location. If you want the golden hour, which is 5 minutes, and you need to shoot in that on location, maybe you shoot 6 different days to get that one shot. Here, you can have it happen for 12 hours straight. Okay, next slide, please. Cool. And here's where real-time rendering comes in. And sort of as I started talking about with the LED screens, you're able to completely reorient shots. You're able to change locations. You're able to change lighting. You can change weather. All of a sudden it can start raining. There are a ton of cool videos on YouTube where you can actually see actors on set getting rained on with kind of the CGI being like all changed up. There's really cool stuff that can be done. Also a matter of scale. Like if you want to have a super close up and you want an actor's face like right in front of a lion's mouth, for example, you can just get that on the screen. But if you also want a shot from across a football field, you can just kind of using your virtual camera, have that in there. So it's, it's fantastic for production, a lot more flexibility, saves a ton of time, saves a ton of money. All right, next slide, please. All right, virtual cameras. So you can see on the left, the PlayStation controller. Virtual cameras, I mean, they can be just like a tablet screen. On the right, you can see basically the camera is being controlled on a cart or like at a desk, like directors and cinematographers can just sit there. And so much of that is programmed during pre-visualization, which is what we saw back in that car scene. That camera knew the exact path, to the millimeter, every single shot, every single movement, how it was going to work. So that was all done in pre-visualization and, using those LED screens in real time. So virtual cameras are super cool. Okay, next slide. All right, and AI, it just mixes in everywhere. I mean, I mentioned nerfs earlier, so especially for indie filmmakers in the coming years, they're going to be able to replicate, some of the stuff we talked about that's now costing millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to do. AI is really, going to be able to close the gap some. It might not be the most beautiful movie in the world, but if you remember Clerks or you saw that, I mean, like I think probably what you're making right now using AI virtual production tools, is that kind of early days of indie filmmaking in virtual production. Okay, and then next is going to be the 3-minute clip from House of the Dragon, sort of behind the scenes. It's amazing. Make sure you have audio on.
I was going to see if the audio would work there, but it's not.
Okay, but it worked on the other screen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear it before. I'm going to jump down.
So yeah, if you come over here, there's volume buttons down here.
It operates with the camera.
There are 92 motion capture cameras, and what those do is solve the position of where the principal camera is. And that information gets passed into Unreal Engine, which is a game engine. It's that next evolution of the ability to see your visual effects live in camera while you're shooting. Ultimately, on the set, there was just this unadorned bridge. Yeah, you've got the castle behind the characters, but then above them, still in the frame, you've got this like smeared castle across the ceiling tiles, which is correct in perspective of the camera, but to your eye looks really, really strange. But then when you go over to the director's monitors in Video Village and just look at what's in the camera, you're transported to where this scene is taking place, and you're sort of brought into the illusion.
It was so great to have something the actors could react to in real time.
It's pretty surreal. It's a lot easier because you're not imagining everything, it's there in front of you.
Sir Crispin, wasn't it?
Sir Kristen Cole, my prince.
Ah, yes, apologies. I couldn't recall.
Perhaps my prince recalls when I knocked him off his horse.
It was spectacular to look through the lens and really see where the show comes to life and to give it a real look and texture. The real Dragonstone Bridge was completely impractical to shoot a scene on.
This one is a bridge that's been seen in Game of Thrones, and it's this fabulous zigzagging bridge that connects the mainland to a monastery.
Because we were able to recreate it from LiDAR scans from the actual set, we're able to shoot in any direction. You can shoot profiles, you can shoot wides, you can be above.
In the center, there was like a pivot so they could turn and spin 360. So we would shoot up the incline one day, and then overnight, magically, we'd be shooting down the incline the next day.
They can create a background which is 10,000 feet up in the air in the mountains, and so that gives them the opportunity to be really visually creative.
Okay, can folks hear me again? Okay, cool. I hope you like that. I actually wasn't getting the audio, which made me so sad because it's so great, but I sort of synced it up on my own laptop. Anyway, that is pretty much my overview of virtual production. I hope that you enjoyed it. It's kind of fun how integral and central XR and immersive technology is. All right. I think I'm done.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, I was done. That's awesome. Like, that's a great way to play me off the stage. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you found some of that interesting and enjoyed some of the clips.
Before you go, does anyone have any questions or anything they want to ask? If you do, just come on up to the front. Okay, no, nothing. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Claire. We really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, absolutely. We can chat afterward if anyone wants to chat about it.
Yeah, and now everyone can just kind of discuss this. If you guys just want to talk amongst each other, then you're welcome to hang out.
Awesome.
Oh, is she gone? Oh, nope. Thank you.
That was educational.
Okay, there we go. And thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt.
Bye.
That was fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. And this should be recorded and put it on Banter for later.